Hey guys, Myles here at Hyve. It's Monday, so that means it's another dry fire session. And last week we started to work on and revisit the draw, where the whole goal was to really try to get your gun out of your holster quickly to that first shot. This time we're going to build on top of that, take some baby steps and add some facing movements, meaning basic turns. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Welcome back. So as I mentioned, we are going to add a layer of complexity to our draw, and we're treating this from the ground up, right? I don't know who's viewing these videos, and typically our viewers a lot of them are beginners, and there are a lot of new gun owners out there, so it's very important to take these baby steps. Last week I talked about that draw, and there's one thing I wanted to point out where I talked about how I'd like you to confirm your shot at the end. And for some of you, that pause might be very long. For some of you, it may not. It's going to depend on your skill level. So some of you, I have a dry gun here and I have a dry fire mag because this is going to be very helpful for these dry fire sessions. And what I was saying was, when you present, you need to confirm what you're shooting. You need to know precisely what you're hitting. And a lot of beginners, when they just throw their gun out there, they just shoot and they don't really pick a small point to focus on when they're shooting. So by confirming, we are forcing ourselves to build those good habits and do that. Ultimately, yes, you will shave off that time. And it's no longer about aiming. As you begin to develop your skill set, you're going to aim in with your body. And all your eyes are going to do is confirm that your sights are on target, then you'll take that shot. So that's why we need that pause. Although that pause might be very, very minimal as you get more experience. Now what we're going to add are very simple facing movements. In a number of videos that we've done in the past, and also I think Dor did a video about maybe a week or two ago with the rifle, and it was called Facing Movements, React to Contact. And he showed a method to do this, and you can do the same thing with pistol, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. If you watch a lot of encounters, real life encounters, gunfights, you'll see that moving when you're shooting, when you're being threatened, is going to be key to surviving and perhaps even being successful in a deadly encounter. So I'm going to share another method or another technique, which is not necessarily right or wrong, it's just there's different circumstances here. But it's also going to allow you to take baby steps while also developing a precursor to actual movement. But we're not going to be moving yet, okay? So you're going to do your draw from any holster position, okay? It does not matter what holster position you're using. What we're going to be working on today is, it just all applies to everything. So this is dry fire, so you don't necessarily need a target. You can pick anything you want as your designated target in your home, office, wherever you are. And we're just going to take 3 directions here. So if you are the potential threat, so I'm going to either have my right shoulder facing you, my left shoulder facing you, or my back. And I'm going to show all 3 methods here, and we're going to do this dry fire. Your draw mechanics should be the same as the previous week, meaning you're trying to do things quickly. When we are dry, this is the time to really try and work your speed. See how fast you can go. Why? Because we are ultra safe, right? We know that if anything happens and we drop the gun because we're going so fast, that it's completely dry. So this is the time you should really try to push it to see if you're breaking, or where you're breaking down, so you know that when you get to live fire, you definitely don't want to go that speed, okay? So, that said, we're gonna start off with the right shoulder here. And the whole idea here is we never take blind turns. You always have to look where you're turning, look at a potential threat. So build these good habits here. When I determine there's a threat, I'm going to look at the camera first because you are my threat. And the technique we're going to use here is that if I'm turning to my right and I want to face my right, I'm going to move my right leg first towards you, okay? So instead of pivoting, which there's nothing wrong with that, this is where I want you to develop the precursor to movement, okay? So here, you'll see my right foot, I look at you, you're my potential threat, okay? Let's just focus on footwork now. My right foot takes a step towards you first, then I'm going to get in my stance to take that shot. So with just the footwork again, okay? I establish my threat. I'm going to take a step towards you. Look at where my toes are pointing. It's towards you. Then I get to my stance. We're not even talking about hands here yet, okay? Now with the hands involved, As soon as I identify the threat and know that I'm going to engage, as I begin to move, I take that step forward as I just discussed. This is when I begin to do what I need to do to grab my gun. Then at this point, I would draw and then take my shots. Okay? One more time on the right side here. Okay? I identify my threat first. I take a step towards my threat and get in my stance while drawing, presenting my gun to take those shots. This is something that you do slow first and then increase the speed. So I identify my threat. This is about 25% speed. Okay? Then you would increase it little by little until you get to full speed. Okay? So that is the right side. The left side is similar. Okay? Left side, I identify my threat first. I'm always looking. Then instead of just pivoting for this specific technique, I want you to look, take a step towards the threat, okay? And then draw and do this, okay? So remember, the reason why we're doing this is it's a precursor. It's a precursor to you actually moving. So if there was a threat, you don't want to, ideally you don't want to stay stationary, right? So especially when we're close, there, you know, civilian gunfights, if you watch a lot of video, you see everything happening so close. So movement is going to give you a little bit better chance of possibly surviving. So instead of just turning, I want you to get to the mindset, and again, it's baby steps. Later on, you'll be moving and shooting, okay? So we're just taking that baby step. So if it's here, I identify my threat, I look, I'm now going to, it's almost like a pivot. All you're just going to do is just turn it towards. Take a very small step, then get into your stance, okay? Nothing, you know, nothing crazy there. Very simple, okay? And you would do that for a number of reps with your dry gun, get those reps in, and then feel good, then develop the speed. Now, backwards, okay? If I'm facing backwards, I'm going to explain things here. So I'm imagining the camera's here, the threat is here. If you are completely, your back is completely towards the threat, you choose which side you want to turn because it's even, right? I mean, literally, it's your choice. Look over your right shoulder, look over your left shoulder, but notice how I'm looking. I'm not taking a blind turn. So if that was my threat here, notice this. I don't just turn, and I haven't even looked at my threat yet, or potential threat. I'm looking first, and then I turn, okay? So for this one, depending on the shoulder you choose, if I'm here, and I choose my right shoulder, okay, this point here, remember, you can pivot. You can definitely pivot, okay? So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to do a variation. So here, I'm looking over my right shoulder. Again, just a little step, nothing crazy, a little step, and then I turn. Remember why? The whole idea is, if this were real, maybe I'm going to start lunging forward and running and moving faster, okay? If it's the left side here, I identify my threat, okay? Then notice again the foot, a slight variation. I'm going to point it towards you, then get into my stance. I am drawing while I'm moving my feet, okay? Right now I'm just explaining things, but to do it correctly here, as I look at you, identify my threat, I know that I'm going to engage, I take that step, I'm already drawing, now I'm ready to take my shots, okay? So this is something very simple that you can do, and it plays off of what we did the previous week. Now we're adding some footwork, okay? If you're doing outside the waistband, 3 o'clock, appendix, it's up to you, right? However you want to carry. But the main thing is now we're just adding a little footwork, okay? Everything else is the same. Go as fast as you want to, but take baby steps. Get progressively faster, and then remember, since we're going dry fire, try to push it. So if you do these drills, you know, maybe 15 minutes, 3 times this week, you will be ready for Thursday's live fire session. It'll be much easier, and you'll be safer. So make sure you get those reps in. All right, that wraps up today's dry fire session. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I will see you on Thursday.